Hey everyone, welcome to the official behind the scenes of a little project I did called Change of Plans. Uh, for this project, it was just a little assignment I had to do where me and a group of people, we had a list of shots that we needed to do and a random script. Uh, so we made up a little story, and here I'm going to go through one example for every single shot we did. So, starting off with our first shot, we have the very long shot, also known as the very wide shot. Uh, for this, it is usually a much more outdoorsy location, big landscape shot, whatever. But we used it to showcase uh, the starting area for our film, which is just this long corridor with some boxes and everything. Uh, as you can see, guy number one, as we call him, walks in from the right side and then eventually towards the camera. Uh, you can't make out too many details. You just know there's a figure walking, which is a usual characteristic of the shot. Immediately following that, we have the long shot, also known as the wide shot or the full shot. Uh, Again, it's the same scene, character walking down the hallway, except now it's a bit closer. And because of this, we can kind of see more of our character, and we get a much better look at his clothes, the way he looks, etc. For our next shot, we have the medium long shot, also known as the knee shot. Uh, in this scene, main or character guy number one is pulling something out of his pocket, and the reason we chose this shot is you get to see more of the background. You don't really need to see his legs, but you do need to see that he's pulling something out of his pocket. And obviously, due to its name, the knee shot, it is usually a shot that shows a character from the knees up, which is exactly what we did here. And for our next shot, we have the medium close-up, also known as the bust shot. The reason why it is called the bust shot is because, well, if you couldn't tell, it's taken from the bust upwards. The reason we chose this shot is because if you've seen the project, you know that guy number one puts a pill in his pocket, and the camera pans up after he does that and shows him walk through the hallway. We don't really need to see more of his body anymore. Instead, we wanted to get a clearer look and focus on his face, as well as the shoulders and whatnot, because a close-up shot would be way too personal, while a long shot would just isolate more than what this shot does. It's a nice compromise. And taking a far step back, we have the extreme long shot, also known as the extreme wide shot. The reason we went with this shot is because you can tell there's a room back there, and you see the characters walk into that room, but can't quite make out the details. It's a very good way to introduce a new location for the very next scene, which we'll be getting to in a second. We also see guy number one, the person we've been following for most of this time, walk into that room and then immediately be followed by guy number two, who we're about to meet in the next scene. As you can see, guy number two is standing there. You can't really make out too many details, but you know he's there. Here we have one of my favorite shots, the over-the-shoulder shot, which, as the name implies, is taken from behind someone's shoulder, and you see over their shoulder. In this case, we have guy number one. He's more on the right side, and we're seeing up from his left shoulder to see him talking to guy number two. This shot is really, it's most commonly used for conversations between characters. It'll flip-flop. If you watch our project, you'll see us use that technique a bit. I also really do enjoy playing video games, and there's quite a few games that use this kind of technique. It's known as third person. Nice little over the shoulder. It's a good way to see the person talking while still getting the reactions of the other person. And getting nice and personal, we have the close-up. Uh, as the name implies, once again, the close-up is a close-up of either an item or a person. In this case, we choose to close in on guy number two's face to get his full reaction, all the details of his face, etc., so we can tell what he's feeling when he delivers his line for the scene. Next, we have the medium shot, also known as the waist shot or the mid shot. Now, this is probably my favorite scene from this little project we did, where you have guy number one burst through the doors, and then guy number two follows right after. The framing, the lighting, everything. I really like it. But anyways, in this little screenshot you see here, you have guy number two opening the doors. The reason we went with this shot is you don't really need to see any of his legs or whatever. You just kind of need to see his body opening the door and see his face, whatever. Earlier on, we talked about the knee shot. If you don't need the thigh area, usually you would use that to show off like a character using his pockets, for example, which is what we did. We don't really need that. So instead of having wasted space, we opted in for the waist shot. Up next, we have the big close-up, also known as the choker. We use this shot on a guy walking up some stairs to kind of just have a nice detailed shot. Some little B-roll. We watch your character walk up the stairs, and you hear guy number two shout, something that makes guy number one stop. Instead of just showing guy number one like his full body stop, we just see his feet stop, which is a nice way to build some kind of suspense, because you don't know what the other character's thinking, you just see their very small action. And because of that, that's what your brain immediately focuses on, is the action of him stopping while going up the stairs. And finally, we have the extreme close-up, which the big difference between the extreme close-up and the last shot we talked about, the big close-up, is with the big close-up, you can see background details that will tell you what the character is or what they're doing or where they are, which in that case you could tell they're walking upstairs. They're in a stairwell, whatever. For extreme close-ups, you don't really know what's going on. In this scene, you see your character reach into his pocket to grab something, but you don't know what he's doing or what he looks like. Obviously, if you've seen the film, you know what he looks like, but just from this shot alone, you don't know what's going on. You don't know where the character is, why they're there, etc. It can be used to create a lot of emotion with an audience member. For example, within horror, they'll use extreme close-ups to either creep out the audience or make them feel disturbed or something along those lines. Other films will use them for great detail. And that's it. Those are the 10 shots that are most commonly used within film. I hope you enjoyed, maybe even learned something. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know down below. Take care.